Good afternoon, everyone. I am G.
And I'm Anais.
Thank you very much for your time today and allowing us to talk about our next journey to Africa for September 2027. We see a few people already listening, and we're expecting a few more coming in to join us in the next few minutes. But while we wait for the others, we're going to run you through some details of the presentation. So if you're on a computer, which might be different on an iPhone or an iPad, but toward the top right, you should see different options. The two pieces of paper together is your chat mode. You can chat with any of us directly. Next to it, with a question mark, you have questions you can send us directly, which we will address either during the presentation or after the presentation. And then next to it, you also have a piece of paper with a paperclip called materials. And in there, you're going to be able to download the itinerary of the journey, the full flyer with the details day by day, what we're going to do, what we're going to see, all the dates, and so on and so on. So we can see more people coming and join us. We're going to run you first by a little video that we put together to try to get you excited for the journey. So bear with us for just a few seconds. The video is about to start. Here we go. So thank you very much for your time on the video here. We're going to go back to our presentation. We hope you're all awake and ready for this, and we're very excited to be sharing the details of that journey with you now. So we're going to switch to our next page. So you should be able to see a full map of the journey. And on there, you can see the departure will be from Quebec City. Out of there, we'll do a quick fuel stop in Goose Bay and then over to Nuuk in Greenland for the night, then over to Reykjavik, Iceland, and then down our first real full destination will be Shannon in Ireland in a beautiful castle. After this, we'll be going down to Malta and then Cairo to see the pyramids, a few more stops in Egypt of Abu Simbel, Aswan, a possible fuel stop in Jeddah over to Djibouti for the night, then down to really the exciting part of Southern Africa. We'll stop in Arusha, Tanzania for our first safari. Then we'll go down to Livingstone in Zambia for Victoria Falls. Then over to Walvis Bay in Namibia for the desert of Namibia, and a few exciting things you'll see on this presentation. From there, we'll skim the west coast of Africa down to Cape Town, and I can tell you that landing your own airplane in Cape Town and the big airport of Cape Town is something very special to pilots. From there, we'll start our way back with many other exciting destinations. The first one will be a stop in Mon, Botswana for a stay of 3 nights by the Okavango Delta. Then we'll go over by the beach on a private island where we'll have a private helicopter taking us over to be 3 days on that private island by the beach to kind of relax. After this, we'll fly over to Kigali in Rwanda to go see the big gorillas in the Volcano National Park. From there, 2 nights in Addis Ababa on our way back, 1 more stop in Egypt in Luxor, which is pretty fantastic. And then from there, we'll go to Rome in Italy, to a big city to kind of relax after all our stops in Africa, and then 2 nights in Scotland in the castle before you head back to the US. But Anais will take over on the next slide over here. We'll tell you a little bit more about the company itself.
So some of you already are familiar with us and have traveled with us before, but there's some that haven't. So I'm just a little brief about Air Journey. It was started more than 27 years ago. It was in 1998. And it was started by actually my parents, Sophie and Terry Pui. And the idea was really to handhold as people take their plane out of the country. Since then, we've taken journeys to over 186 countries. And we take care of everything, all your flight planning, authorizations, permits, EAPIS filing, arranging for parking and fuel releases. It's really, you get to enjoy the flying and then enjoy the destinations, because in each destination, we then also take care of the hotels, excursions, breakfast and dinner, some of the lunches, transportation once on the ground. So really everyone in the airplane can enjoy and relax and experience something really unique. But when my parents started it, my dad was always passionate about, or he is still passionate about flying. And that was what he wanted to do. And my mom, maybe not so much about the flying, but loved to travel and loved beautiful places. So she set in place a couple rules that she said, I will do this with you, but I want to spend 2 to 3 nights in each location, because we know if we leave it up to the pilots, it might just be a touch and go. Only the best hotels in each location, no departures before 9 a.m., doesn't want to fly in any bad weather, and no flying at night. And we still to this day follow those rules. And it's really proven to be just really the right mix. It's exactly where, again, everyone enjoys themselves, not just the pilots, but also the traveling companions that are with them.
And for the ones who never traveled with us before, it's really important to understand that we try to mix the flying for the pilots and the non-flying, 2-3 nights at each location, the best hotels, the best weather conditions possible. And that's why our trip to Africa is toward the end of the summer. So we have the best kind of dry season too in this part of the world. So I'll take over on the part what we call in the sky. So like Anais said, we take care of everything on the flying. All you have to do is attend the flight briefing the night before, which we'll review in a few minutes, and be at the airport with us in the morning, and then just fly the airplane. Air Journey, we have one flight department within the office. We've been running our own flights through about the last 10 years completely on our own with all the permits and so on. We do about 1,500 international flights a year. So it's not something we do just a few times a year. It's throughout the whole season. So like Anais said, flight planning is taken care of on your behalf, weather briefing, optimized routing. The pilot briefing happens the night before each flight. It's led by the journey director and reviews every aspect of the flight. Taxi on departure, seed, en route, frequencies, anything different than flying in the US from what you're used to. Arrivals, approaches, taxi diagram, what's going to happen on the ground, where we're going to refuel. Basically everything that's going to happen during the flight step by step. We also file all the US Customs documents like EAPIS. We obtain all your fuel releases, we do all the flight planning, all the ground handling, and so on and so on. So basically everything for the flying is taken care on your behalf.
And then on the land side, we also take care of everything on your behalf. So we spend 2 to 3 nights in each location. That's the sweet spot. The itinerary is built around relaxing and touring and flying in order to have the right balance. Because you're flying yourselves, the key is also to stay sharp and have that relaxation. It's easy when you plan a trip to say, I want to go, 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 but it is important to have that balance. And so that's really what is taken into account with our itineraries. We stay at luxury lodges on this trip, safari camps, small boutique hotels throughout the journey. We have a la carte dinners every night as a group, so it's not a set menu. Wine, we enjoy some nice wines. All of the tours are private with local guides. The main thing is just to have a mix of the cultural aspect of it, to get a taste of what the area is about, and then also enjoy ourselves in the best conditions.
We'll show you on the next slides a few pictures of the lodges and what to expect on the journey, because everything is set up to be very high-end and very special.
So this here is a Grumeti Serengeti Lodge in Tanzania. It was recently, actually, they completely closed the entire camp and reopened, and redesigned it, and so it's brand new. It opened last year. It's beautiful. It's right along a river, and so you hear the hippos, and at night you hear all the animals, which is great, and also a little, but no, it's amazing. And then here we have a different type. So it's again a lodge, but it's a little bit more of like structured, and this is in Susluvi Desert in Namibia. Again, this one also was recently done a couple of years ago, and it's just set within the landscape, blends in beautifully. Each sort of room is its own little hut, and then that big sort of area that you see there, that house looking thing, is actually the main lodge area. So people gather there when you come back from tours, and there's a pool, and it's just a great gathering spot.
And a lot of the lodges we use are usually about 10 rooms maximum. So the experience is very private. You get a full staff and you feel like you're in your own home in a way. And our group sizes are usually 8 to 10 rooms. So we usually take over pretty much the whole lodge, if not the whole lodge together. So the attention to detail to our group is very special. In this picture at the bottom left, you can see that every villa, we'll call, a bungalow, comes with private plunge pool. So it's, you go out in the bush, you go explore, you're tired at the end of the day, and you come back to your room and you're in a little piece of heaven, for a few hours that night.
This is another one of the lodges that we go to in Botswana. Actually, also this one was recently redone. And the main thing with these lodges is they blend into nature. It's about not leaving a big footstep, or footprint, I should say. But it is just one with the wilderness. So you've got animals that are, walking through the lodges at night, but it's very comfortable. It's running water, it's flushing toilets. It's really luxurious.
Yes, and I remember at this lodge, and we're about to leave dinner, we're tired, going back to the room, and the guide said, no, just wait a second, we cannot go, it's not safe. What do you mean it's not safe? Well, there's an elephant crossing the path, and we know him, we got to leave him a little bit of time to get away from the path. So it doesn't get more, much more real than this.
Then another one, this is another one. This is one and only Gorilla's Nest in Rwanda, and it is, I honestly, heaven on earth. It is one of the most beautiful places. Again, you're really within the landscapes. You're in the forest. It's the closest property to the Volcanoes National Park, where the gorilla trekking happens. And you just get transported into this magical world.
Exactly. And then on this picture here, you can see some different bigger hotels that we use depending on the locations.
Exactly. So, and there's very familiar brands too, Four Seasons, there's One and Only, there's Kempinski. So it's a mix of everything, but really the lodges and hotels that we use on this journey are top of the line.
Yeah, some people think that we're going to be in the bush and tents the whole time, which is not the case. We got the right mix of different destinations, different experiences, so it's not all the same. And so often people say, hey, why do I need to fly my airplane around Africa? I can just go commercial over there. And we often tell them, well, if you go commercial, how many places are you going to go visit in Africa? Because it's a big continent. There's a lot to do. It's not just about safaris. And people say, oh, I'll go just to one destination, Tanzania or Kenya or South Africa. And we tell them, why? You have your own airplane. It's a trip of a lifetime. And with your own airplane, you get to hit crossing of the Atlantic over Europe, several stops in Egypt, which is incredible, and all the highlights of Africa, not just the safaris, the private island in Mozambique, Cape Town, Namibia, Victoria Falls, the gorilla trek, and so on and so on. So flying your own airplane really allows you to hit all those destinations along the way.
I really think that, for us, at least, our Africa journey is really the one journey that this is why you fly yourself, because it is nearly impossible to be able to fit all of this within one trip commercially. So this really is the reason why you fly your airplane.
And that's the feedback we get a lot from our South America trip. People say, I can fly commercial down to one or two places, but that's it. But when you fly your own airplane, you really get to see all the highlights of the continent. So back on the journey, some what we call the stats. So 49 days, 3 continents, 22 countries, 34 destinations, 48 nights, and about 20,000 miles. Just to give you an idea, a round trip around the world is about 23,000 miles. So this is almost the same distance. That's why it's about 49 days. But the comment we get after every long journey for us is, what did time go by? We have so much fun because we move every 2-3 days. You have no idea what day of the week it is, what time of the day it is, whatever is happening. You just show up on time and off we go. And by the time you get home, you have no idea how long you've been gone for.
A lot of the time it's, the build up to the journey that feels, oh, it's such a long trip. But once you get on the trip, you get into a rhythm. You're moving every 3 or 4 days. And so it just becomes, like you said, next thing you know, the trip, it's almost done and it flies by. No pun intended.
The longest trip we had was around the world, 75 days. And the best comment we get at the end of that trip in Seattle at the last dinner is, our client's bingo. So that's it. So tomorrow we go home. There's no new hotel, new destination, no new country, no new experiences. We go back to normal life. And we always found this to be pretty impressive.
In terms of the pace of the journey, so again, our itinerary is built on the destinations that we're going to. It's a moderate level of activity, not so much because it's straining, but more because of uneven grounds. And, it's definitely not wheelchair friendly. But in terms of, it's not extensive like walking or things like that. We do some hiking excursions on some of the stops. We do city tours. So it's really a blend of everything. We do boat outings, the game drives and safari activities. Even though we're, sitting in a vehicle going around, it is, a pretty tiring activity in the sense of you're waking up early and then you come back and relax and then you go back out. But it's so worth it. And so really the pace of the journey, I'd say, is moderate in the sense of we're moving every couple of days, but it's not so much about the physicality of it, more so of just the conditions, I guess.
And one of the most important thing for us is for you guys to realize that all the lodges we select are small lodges, very high end, and they're on private reserves. So you're not going to see 100 different cars and tourists driving on their own and kids running around and all of this. It's in those private reserves where the animals are not scared. We park right next to lions, we park next to, closer to elephants and so on, and there's no one else around, which really makes the experience very special. So now let's jump into the itinerary. So we've cut the itinerary in 4 different parts. The first part is shown on the screen over here, and we'll tell you a little bit of each of the destinations along the way. On that particular map, you'll see that you have the distances, and because there's no big ocean crossing, once we hit Europe, the distances can be shortened as needed. In case the airplane cannot do 920 miles like we have from Malta to Cairo, there are many options to stop in Greece and other locations, which we would organize on your behalf. So we'll meet in Quebec City for our basic introduction. That's where you'll meet the other participants. That's where we'll go to a pretty long flight briefing to cover the crossing of the Atlantic, what you haven't seen before, what's new to you, our fuel stop in northern Canada, our landing in Greenland for the first time for some of you. Then we'll be followed by cocktails, dinner, and then we'll be staying at the Chateau Frontenac, which is what you see on the picture there, which is a beautiful castle in the French side of Quebec. After this, we'll be going to Nuuk the next day for one night, for one overnight. Nuuk is always a moving target because crossing of the Atlantic on this trip is wherever the best weather is. So it could be further south. It can be Nuuk or it can be Kangerlussuaq a little further north. It's just an overnight, and we're looking always for the best possible weather for the crossing. After this, we'll be landing in Iceland, in Reykjavik. We'll spend the night there. You can see a picture at the top, and if you can spot the airport all the way at the end, you get really good eyes. We'll be there for one night. Same thing, you get a few hours to tour the city by foot, and then we'll meet for a briefing, dinner, and then the next day we'll be on our way to Ashford Castle.
In Ireland, yeah.
Which is a beautiful place, as you can see on the pictures over there. We'll be there for 3 nights, and that's kind of really the place where you're going to start relaxing, because getting to Quebec, the build-up of the trip, crossing of the Atlantic, usually the pilots are under a little bit of pressure. So once we get to Shannon, you can really say that first night, people have a few drinks, and the pace really kind of slow down. And we're there for 3 nights, and several activities. There's golfing, there's clay pigeon shooting, there's falconry, the Cliff of Moher if you wanted to, and a few other options to do while we're there for 3 nights. After this,
we go to Malta. And so in Malta, it's a small island in the middle of the Mediterranean. A lot of people actually don't even consider or think about Malta, but it is one of my favorite places. The history that's there, it had such an importance in military movements and things like that, that it is definitely worth a stop. So we spend the first day there touring, doing a city tour in the Valletta. And then after that, the next day we take a boat out and see Malta by sea, and it's really beautiful.
It's another nice place to relax as well, because you'll be touring the city, which is a big enough city to really enjoy either on your own or with a tour, and then next day on a catamaran seeing the blue water of the Mediterranean. And that's before we fly over to Cairo. The picture you see on the right side is coming in on the approach, so it's really incredible because it's a little hazy as you start your descent into Egypt, and then you're getting vectored around the city of Cairo, and all of a sudden your co-pilot or your passenger says, hey, look on the right, we see the pyramids. And you get to see them from the air before going there the next day for a tour. So it makes the experience very unique. And so we're going to be there for 2 nights. Mm-hmm. We'll be staying at the Four Seasons over there, which is a very nice, safe hotel, beautiful place to enjoy your evenings. And then the next day, because we're there for 2 full days, for 2 nights, 1 full day, you'll be enjoying a guided tour of the pyramids. The beautiful part of Egypt is they're going to take you inside the pyramids to all the tombs and the tunnels in there. We'll be having lunch close to the pyramids. You'll be on a camel ride in the afternoon, go see the Sphinx, the museum.
There's the new museum that just opened.
And that everyone's been expecting for some time.
Yeah.
And then after this, we'll be on our way to Abu Simbel. And you can see on the left side, picture of the Abu Simbel temple, a video of the Abu Simbel temple, and then landing on one of the runways over there.
What's really neat with Abu Simbel is what makes it so famous is that when they put in the dam, they realized that it was going to flood. So they ended up moving the entire temple up. So in terms of architecture, just a pretty impressive move. I mean, to move an entire temple, and it stayed in great condition.
And again, the beauty of Egypt is they let you go inside the temples. As you can see at the pictures at the bottom, it's impressive from outside, but it's even more impressive on the inside, and all the carving on the walls and just breathtaking. That's one of my favorite pictures, taking off out of Abu Simbel on our way south to Jeddah and to Djibouti, and you can see the flooding of the water after they set up the dam over there.
And so Abu Simbel is just a day stop, so it's actually going to be on our flight down to Aswan. So it is a lot of Egypt, but you really get to see a bunch of stops in Egypt on this journey. Aswan is right on the Nile. It's beautiful. The first time I went, I was so surprised on how just it's green and lively. It's completely different feeling than from Cairo. And what's really cool is so they have a lot of unfinished obelisks. And so you see the ones that are done, but you've never sort of seen them as they're like starting to be carved within the stone. So for me, that was really interesting. And I think it's a unique viewing point of being able to see how it really is created.
And it's a nice way for us to be able to do Abu Simbel because the hotels are not great around Abu Simbel. So we leave Cairo in the morning, go to Abu Simbel, 400 miles, do the tour, end up in Aswan for 3 nights. And then we get into the second part of the journey. So once we leave Aswan, we have an optional fuel stop in Jeddah on the way down to Djibouti. That's 380 and 600. Some airplanes can go nonstop. And after this, we get into really the middle of Africa, where we're going to be going to Tanzania, Zambia, Namibia, and then down to Cape Town. So
Djibouti.
Yes.
It's a one-night stop. And there's a reason it's a one-night stop. It's not the most picturesque destination. I always like it, though, because I think it shows us a different side. It's very easy to do a trip around Africa where it is your, you can, in a sense, sort of see the best of Africa and not really see the other side of it. And Djibouti gives us a little bit of taste of some of other parts of Africa that are less developed, really, really third world. But the people are amazing, and the area itself is pretty unique.
And the reason we have that picture at the bottom left with the military in the tower is Djibouti is half military and half civilian. They've got airline flights coming in, they've got ambulance flights coming in, private flights, but also a lot of military. And the funny part is the German, the Americans, and the French rent section of the airspace and the control tower during the day at different time to do all their training of their Air Force and testing and so on. And Djibouti is really a nice, safe place because of all the military activity around it, training at least coming there. So for us, we go spend one night and then we head south.
And sorry, just one thing. And also within our hotel itself, actually, there's military bases in the sense of like you said about renting or taking up some of the control towers. They also take up portions of the hotels in order to live. So you feel really safe.
Exactly. And then we fly down to Tanzania.
And so Arusha is sort of the first stop where we're finally, we really feel as though okay, we're in Africa. And we spend one night at the Legendary Lodge. For some reason, this is the night where everyone just lets loose. Every time we do this journey, on this night, it becomes just everyone lets loose. We're all having fun. One year we had one of the couples had fun, and the wife went to bed, or needed to go to bed, let's put it that way, and was like, don't worry, I'll leave the door open for you. But when the husband went to go to bed, the door was locked, and so he slept on 2 chairs outside of his room. But it is a beautiful, quaint lodge. The people there are great, and we have it really sets us in the mood of safari.
Yep, it's a little bit like crossing the Atlantic the first time. When you get over to Europe, you let loose the first night because the pressure comes down, and this is the same thing. You get to this part of Africa, and you're like, oh, okay. And you're not flying for the next few days because after this, we'll jump on a charter flight just for our group, usually Cessna Caravans. That will take us very close to the lodges within a few minutes drive. And the reason we leave our airplanes at the big airport, because first, it's very safe. Two, it's all paved, security, airline traffic, and so on and so on. And if you take your airplane to those dirt strip or grass strips,
the hyenas like the tires. So we leave the planes our planes at the big airports, and then we use the caravans or different types of puddle jumpers to take us to the different lodges. And like G said, we really get close to the lodges, and it's it's really scenic to see everything from above.
Yeah, and all those charter flights that we're doing are private to us only, with companies that we've vetted, that are companies are vetted too, and it's all part of the price of the journey. So you don't have to come up with any payment for those charter flights.
So in Western Serengeti, when we go there in the dates that we're there, it is the migration period. Where we are exactly in the Serengeti isn't sort of the crossing of the rivers where you see them, just to set expectations, but you do see such an abundance of wildebeest, and you do see the migration, just not the river crossing part of it. Still just as magical in a different way. And the amount of animals is unbelievable. And like I showed earlier, this is one of the newer lodges. It was just reopened last year. And you're really the moment actually you land and you start going to the lodge itself, you start seeing animals and you're on a game drive. So it's a very special destination.
When we landed there on my group, we had to wait about 45 minutes, about 5 minutes from the airport on the way to the hotel, because we had just wildebeest crossing and crossing and crossing. And I thought, man, this is amazing. That's perfect timing. And that lasted for 3 days after this. So just incredible what happens during that migration.
And as G touched on earlier, a lot of the lodges that we choose, it's on private reserves. And the key of that is you don't have the crowds. You're not, 15 cars trying to look at the same animals. It really is private. You feel like you're the only ones out there. It gives you a proximity to the animals that remains obviously respectful to the animals, but also gives you that sort of, I can't believe how close I am to these animals. And it's just, oftentimes it's just our vehicles that we're seeing. And then every time I say, oh, well, you've gone on these game drives. Do you need to go again? Every time you go out, you see something new and something special. There's never, every time that I say, maybe I shouldn't go, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I thought about not going. You just see the most magical things, and it's never the same. This is one of the videos from one of our journeys that we took from our vehicle. It's just.
What we don't realize on the picture is the proximity to the animals you're in on those private reserves. They're just not afraid. And you drive by, sometimes you see a lioness coming to you, and you're looking at the guide, are you sure about this? And say, don't worry, don't move, everything's okay. And then they look at you in the eyes, and they just go around just around the truck.
And here you can kind of see, so you see one of the clients there, behind him there's some lions, and you're not far from them at all. And actually they will sometimes come right up to the vehicles. It's their land, they're the ones in charge, and so we're there to be respectful about it. But they can come right up to the vehicles themselves, and it's proximity. It's incredible. Yeah. Here's sort of a mix of this is one of the pictures from our trip where you see just the zebras and the wildebeest. During the migration, it's actually a mix of sort of everything, but wildebeest is the majority of it. But it doesn't mean that's all we're going to see. You see a bunch of zebras and elephants and giraffes. It's pretty special.
And here's the best part of the day. No. Yeah. Toward the end of the day, when the sun starts setting, your guides usually stop you on the side and set up a little happy hour.
A little cocktail.
Exactly, with drinks and light appetizers before you head back to the lodge. Shower up, relax, and then get ready for dinner.
And, just the animals that you see. Again, this is, we're driving home thinking the night's done, and then we see this herd of elephants with the babies, and it's, you don't know what to expect.
When people say Africa is magical, it's almost an understatement. It's really hard to realize until you actually go there and experience this.
One of the things too is we consider just the lodges themselves. The food that they are able to put together is unbelievable. It is, coursed meals. It is some of the most delicious food I've ever had. And you look at the surroundings, you're like, how are they able to put this together? But it is delicious and brings everyone together from the lodge. But like you said earlier, most of the time it's just our group. But the staff there and the team there is just unbelievable. Makes you feel like you're at home. Yeah,
I was going to add something about the staff, because the staff also makes you experience, and those lodges have been just incredible through the years. Now we'll get to the exciting part, back on the flying for the pilots. And as you can see, everyone's wearing a uniform. The reason we're doing this is once we leave Europe, and for the African part until we're back in Europe, everyone including the non-pilots. And you're going to wear a uniform for the flying days. You're going to wear a crew badge and so on, because this just makes your life at the airport so much easier. You're going to fly by customs, immigration, security, no questions asked. They're usually like this: open the door, don't even ask for your passport, off you go. And for the non-pilots, we create a crew badge that you'll be wearing during those flying days. It just makes packing easy, dressing easy, and the time at the airport just very, very fast. Because sometimes they would send the pilots only to the airplanes. They'll keep the passengers in the waiting room and tell them, hey, you cannot go to the airplane until the pilots or the airplane is ready. So
general aviation just is not developed like it is for us in the States or in Canada or even parts of Europe. And so they don't understand showing up in civilian clothing, giving access to an airplane. So the pilot uniform makes all the difference. And it helps with the packing. Here we're in Tanzania. So this is one of the, these two pictures actually of Kilimanjaro were on the flight coming in. And it was a beautiful day. There was, no clouds or anything like that, but it was amazing. And even just the people in Africa are unbelievable. When you look at the airport team that's there, they're all smiling, they're all laughing, they're so welcoming.
And they're very happy for everyone to come in. They're really proud of what they have to offer. Back on those pictures of Kilimanjaro, we had one client who went to hike Kilimanjaro with his son a few months before. So on takeoff, we asked ATC any chance we can do a flyby, and they said approved. So got to see those pictures from the air.
And what was neat is from his guide that he had done Kilimanjaro with, when he came back, knowing that he was coming back here, he brought him like shoes and a TV and all these things from the US because they just
shared some unique experiences
exactly.
Together. This is us coming down into Zambia over Victoria Falls. Same thing, we asked ATC, can we do a flyby the falls? And they said, yes, descend maintain 3,000, and you can orbit over the falls and call back when you're ready. So we did a turn over the Victoria Falls and then came in to land in Livingston. So very accommodating, very nice on the flying. And then we'll be there for 2 nights.
And so Victoria Falls is between Zimbabwe and Zambia. On the Zambian side, which is the side that we go on, it is the dry season. So the water itself is a little bit bare, but what's amazing is that you can then do the option of doing the Devil's Pond, and you're able to swim up to the edge of the falls and look over. And then you see in the distance on the Zimbabwe side, just the splashing waters and things like that. And we've had in the past where some of the clients have opted to go over to the Zimbabwe side as well to be able to see sort of both aspects of it.
And get a stamp in the passport too. No.
Yep.
As you can see at the bottom, the lady with the pink t-shirt, at the hotel, there's a few zebras and a few giraffes that grew up within the hotel. So they just walk around at normal, I don't want to say pets, but very similar to this within the hotel, which is incredible because you get to be just so close to them.
One of the an optional thing that you can do as well is a helicopter tour in the actual gorges surrounding Victoria Falls. It's pretty unique a lot of times as you're flying around, the proximity that you get to just the walls themselves. But we make it an optional because it's not for everyone. Some people might not be interested in it. You go up for 30 minutes and just see the falls from above as well, and then just within the gorge themselves.
So here we always recommend, if you have to do some repacking at the airplane, to do it on departure before you go. And the reason for this is you don't want to show what's inside your airplane, inside your luggage at destination. We always recommend to do it on departure. So I know the lady, Anne, on the left side, she's not too happy of me taking picture of the
repacking
of the flea market on the ground here, but it's it's always fun.
And the reason a lot of the time on this journey itself, because of the charter flights that we take or the helicopter, there is a little bit of repacking that's required in order to use smaller types of suitcases and things like that. It's not bad or anything like that. It's just that it takes a little bit of repacking and unpacking and whatnot.
Which is a good time to talk about laundry.
Exactly. So there's laundry on the trip as well. So all of these lodges offer laundry. That's great for the pilot uniform because a lot of times we're wearing the pilot uniforms when we arrive to these lodges, but also with what you need to pack. You don't need to pack a ton. It's included in many of these lodges. So it allows it that you can cut back on some of the items.
Exactly. So a lot of people ask us, how do I pack for 48 days? And there's usually, the little suitcase that you have for the crossing and Northern Europe where it's colder. The rest of the journey is fairly warm, and it's all pretty relaxed clothing. And
we always say dress in layers for safari because you'll go out in the early morning and it's chilly, but then by the time the sun's up and everything like that, it's quite warm. So you want to always dress in layers. So that also gives you some options, different varieties. charter flights.
Yep, a few more pictures, and I cannot tell you the face of the pilot when we have 12 of us showing up in pilot uniform and crew badges. They're looking at us and like, man, I'm gonna have 24 eyes looking at me during the whole flight, and it's true.
It's like no pressure, no pressure. But the best part is one time when we were in Botswana, all of us, you hear on the radio, everyone's sort of talking, and you hear on the radio one of the other charter, hey, does anyone know what all these pilots are about? Because they're all wandering around in the pilot uniform.
But that's what we use to get to the more remote strips. Those are pictures from the Namib Desert in Namibia. So we'll take a quick charter flight from Windhoek over to the lodge. Pictures you've seen before. It's a scenery you cannot see anywhere else. We'll do hikes through the dunes, and then we have a 4x4 experience. We have an ATV experience also set up for the next day. Just some incredible pictures, as you can see on here.
That's one thing with that. The amount of different landscapes that you encounter on this journey is very neat, because really at each destination has its uniqueness.
Yep, exactly. And because they're super nice lodges, all the equipment is also top of the line. Here we're on a ATV ride through the dunes on a set tracks they put us on. Really good adventure, really good equipment. We are the blast on this. And then so we'll go back to the airplanes after 3 nights there, and then we'll be heading over to Cape Town. And to me, flying into Cape Town is very special, because you hear about Cape Town, South Africa through your life as you grow up, and so on and so on. And being able to get vectored among airliners coming into Cape Town and landing, and you're like, wow, you're really on the other side of the world.
What's great with Cape Town too is it's, we've been in lodges and things like that. It's a city. It feels you have all the amenities that you would want in terms of like, it's a perfect spot to group and if you run out of toothpaste. Or actually when I was in Tanzania, I was in Tanzania, and monkeys had gotten into my tent and had taken my toothpaste and bit it and everything like that. I didn't have any other choice but to use it for that portion. But when I got to Cape Town, I could finally buy new toothpaste. So, but it's a great place to sort of regroup and recharge.
Yeah, and go back to a normal big city, right? And as you can see, a picture of Cape Town over here, which is incredible. You can see Tabletop Mountain in the background. For the more adventures, you can hike it. It's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, depending on condition, or you can take the cable car up. So usually we have a group taking the cable car up and down, and another group hiking it up and then taking the cable car down. So you do get some activity. And then from Cape Town, we'll get into the second part of the journey in Africa. So we'll be heading up to Mon, Botswana. Again, 880 miles. If that's too long, there's many options for a fuel stop along the way. Mon is our base for the Okavango Delta. Then we'll be going over to Mozambique, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and then back to Luxor in Egypt. This is a very special picture for us because Anais was escorting our Indian Ocean journey. I was escorting the Africa journey, and we're all for 1 night together, 2 groups at the same time in Mon, Botswana. So that's a picture from the tower that they sent us, and so hey, it's pretty cool because we don't see so many airplanes at the same time on there. There's a few more just outside that picture that you don't see, but it was a unique experience for some coming from the Indian Ocean area, us coming from the other part of Africa to be together for 1 night.
And so then we also do some game drives in Botswana. Again, different than what we've seen in Tanzania. This is really a photographer's dream. It's a lot of single animals, and the viewing that you see is unbelievable. It is their dry season, so it's a bit dustier, but you get to, the animals are by the water, and it's just green, but also dusty. It's just a great juxtaposition. One
of my best souvenirs is inside the room, which is incredible, almost villas made out of wood in the middle of the jungle, and then you hear, and you wonder, is there a storm? What's happening? No, it's a bunch of baboons that came down from the tree above, jumped on the roof. They came down to scoop some water from your private pool in front of your room.
So here, this is the lodge that we have in as well. And the team itself makes it very, the staff that's at the property just makes it so special, and makes you, like I said earlier, it makes you feel at home.
Yep, exactly.
So some of the wildlife that you see, these are all pictures from our journey. You've got the giraffe, the hippo. This is lions, obviously, in a tree, so always look up. But the vehicle that you see there is actually the other half of our group. So it's, again, really just us that's exploring these areas.
And again, you get so close, and the animals are not bothered as long as you don't touch them, of course. But
Yeah.
this is actually not an happy hour; it's a breakfast type. So we went up very early in the morning before it gets too hot on a game drive, and then you stop after about an hour and a half or 2 hours, and they set up breakfast over here for everyone. It's just majestic. And then from there, we fly over to Mozambique, and that's kind of your time to relax after everything you've seen, all the game drives, the dust, the hot weather, and so on. We take a quick helicopter ride, about 10 minutes to a private island, and then you're pampered for the next 3 days. Relax, spa, swimming, fishing, diving, and so on and so on, and really a nice place to kind of
settle down for a little bit.
Exactly, to break the trip up a little bit. Some of the sunset and sunrise are just incredible. You can see some of the groups dressed up in locals at the top. At the bottom left, you can see a special dinner they set up on the beach for us. And the food is all the fresh fish and lobster and so on they catch from the island. And then we fly back to the airport and fly to the next place. And it's typical in some of the parts of Africa to see some unique follow me cars, as you can see, or follow me
tuk-tuks.
Tuk-tuk, exactly. Follow the yellow car. Oh, is that the car? And then the fuel truck is being pulled by a tractor. All excellent fuel. That's what fuels the airline as well, and that's why we go to those big airports, because they're pumping another fuel to the big airplanes. But just some things that you don't see anywhere else in the world. So just part of the experience.
Then from there we go to Kigali, and we spend one night in Kigali, and then we take a helicopter out to Volcano National Park. Because we have the helicopter transfer back to Mozambique and then our flight, and then it just logistically makes more sense to spend the night in Kigali. And then this is the next morning where we're going to take the helicopters. It's about a 20-minute helicopter ride out to the Volcanoes National Park. Our luggage will go by vehicle, but we go by helicopter. And the land in Rwanda, it's all terraced land. It's from the sky, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And then the beauty of the helicopter is it's a 20-25-minute ride instead of a 3-hour drive, but we also have the backup driving option if the weather is bad.
Yeah.
One more thing on the helicopters. I know some people can be scared of helicopters. All the ones we use are turbine helicopters. We don't use any of the piston helicopters. It's all high-end charter rated.
And there is the option here. You can drive to Volcanoes National Park. It just takes 3 hours.
And then we'll be in the national park for 2 nights with a very, very, very special experience of a trek over to seeing the families of gorillas. You get really close to them. You can see them in their natural habitat. And Anais has a few interesting stories on picking the type of hike you want to do there.
There's only 10 gorilla families that are able to be visited by humans, or by groups, I should say. I learned the hard way that if they offer you the easy trek, take the easy trek. I didn't want the Disney World experience. So when they said, oh, we've got easy treks set up for you, I was like, no, our group's good. We want to work a little bit for it, a little machete hit, And I think he was like, let me teach this one. And so 5.5 hours later, straight vertical, we did see the gorillas, and it was the most magical experience. But the next time I went and they offered me this easy trek, definitely took that one, but all unique.
And the trek comes with porters too. So basically we pay the porters, which make them happy because they get a job and they get tipped and so on and so on, a lot more money than I can make in a month. And they're really happy to carry bags, carry you if you need. Which
they did on our 5-hour hike.
But it makes everyone happy. We had some clients saying, I feel bad for them. Well, we're paying them and you're tipping them well, and so you're making everyone happy in that equation.
And they make the experience. I mean, they're telling your stories as you're walking, and just big smiles on their face. It's fun, and they're leading you along the way. They're making sure everyone's safe. They've got eyes everywhere, which is great.
That's one of our favorite videos, and that was recorded by us. There's all the babies playing together. Say, hey, no, you're not playing here. Boom, go down. And then you can see the parents. I wish we could have a life like this. This is the silverback over here, and the mom, you can see with the feet up facing the air up there.
So you can't touch the gorillas, but they obviously are in control, and so they can come so some of them might come and hit the back of your leg, or they're the ones in charge. Really, yeah. We're in their space.
Not in a bad way, but more
exactly.
Like
yes.
a cat type.
From there we go to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Again, it's a 2-night stay. We go and do a city tour. You've got the remains, the oldest, I guess, human that they found, bones that they found. And then there's also, we did some shopping. We did antique shopping, and it's just a nice little stop before continuing on. It's very international, Addis Ababa. There's a lot of conferences and stuff that are held there.
Yep. And then we continue our way north to Luxor. Luxor will be there for 3 nights. It's also, you might think there's a lot of Egypt on this itinerary, but every place is so different that it's a magical place after one another.
Yeah, I mean, just the carvings and the colors and everything in Luxor is unbelievable. We go to the temples, we go into Karnak Temple, Luxor Temple, and then we go into the tombs. Here we are in one of the tombs, and it's just the paintings and the way that it was preserved, and it doesn't even feel real.
Exactly, and that's the Valley of the King, and you walk into a trail, and then all of a sudden there's an opening, you go inside, and it's all carved all the way down for hundreds of feet, and it's just incredible. And then from there, we start our way to Rome. We'll be there for 3 nights, 2 in Glasgow, and then it's the crossing back to home. Rome will be there for 3 nights. I know some people have been there, some people haven't, but it's a nice way to kind of hand up the trip into a big city, kind of recoup, eat some pasta, eat some pizza, and then walk our way north. Then we go to Cameron House up in Scotland, just there for 2 nights. Also helped breaking up the trip on the way home. Just 2 nights, so that give you 1 full day. There's golfing, falconry, local touring, villages experience, and so on. And then if you're lucky, you get some beautiful sights of Greenland on the way to Canada. Greenland is very special, as some of you have seen before. And then once we're there, basically everyone goes home, and all of a sudden it's the end of the journey.
And then you've accomplished everything that you see here. And it's really amazing how much you're able to see on this journey in the time that you see it. Really 49 days to do everything that we see. And it's such variety within the African continent is what makes it special.
And remember that it's a long trip, but you fly every 3 days or every 2 days. So it's not like we're always flying. There's a right mix, we think, of the flying and the local experiences and the flavor. So the next part here on the Africa temperature chart, at the bottom, we have all the destinations, and then we have the low and the high temperatures throughout the day, middle of the night or middle of the day. In green, the line is at 80 degrees. So you can see that the beginning of the journey through the crossing and part of Europe, it's under 80 degrees, and then it gets to above it and then under at night. So it's fairly comfortable.
Egypt is really the areas that's going to be the warmest. And so we really plan the tours to be early morning or as the sun starts setting, so that, again, we take into account the heat that there is. Rain.
Yep, on this one, very important for the pilots, because often people ask us, hey, what kind of weather are we going to fly through, and storms and so on, rain and icing and so on. And you can see the green line over here shows 50% of rain throughout the day. And you can see only a few locations are above 40 degrees, and most of the trip is down to 0 or very close to less than 10%. So it makes the flying within Africa super, super enjoyable.
One of the things is a bit of the group dynamic. So what's really great about this journey is to share it with other people. And the Africa journey allows you to be able to have guests and family and whatnot come for portions of the trip. So because of the length of the trip, maybe people don't want to commit to having someone for the entire trip with them or whatnot. There are opportunities to have people come in, fly for sections of the trip, and then fly back. And so if that's something that would interest you, then you would let us know, and we would sort of section out that portion and let you know what that entails. But what's great about that is also it changes the group dynamic. You get, new stories and whatnot, and it's just a fun way to share in the experience. But the group dynamic itself, what's great, I know not everyone's into group travel, but what is wonderful is everyone has a passion for flying, and it's like-minded. It becomes a family when you travel with people. You really get to know everything about them, and it's friends for a lifetime.
Exactly. And then the beauty of bringing friends and family also is that you get to share some of the experience with them. So when you go back home, you have shared some special moments and traveling together. And we can assist with all the locations that are better for people depending on what they like the most, and the easiness of commercial flying to get in and out to join the group.
One of the things also, passports and visa requirements. So Air Journey will actually assist in doing all of your visas for you. So we send you a questionnaire, you fill out, and then we're able to do all of your visa applications on your behalf. Then we send it to you, you sign it, and then we submit. Passport-wise, it's important to make sure that you have 6 months validity from the return date. And one thing that not everyone knows is also number of pages. You're required to have at least 2 blank pages when you're done. So you need at least 8 pages blank for when the journey starts because of the stamps and everything like that. Sometimes we don't get stamps because we're coming in as crew, But otherwise, you want enough stamps so that you're not found yourself in the middle of the journey with no more pages.
And then, as we mentioned before, the night before each flight, there's going to be a flight briefing led by the journey director. So all the pilots and the companions, whoever want to attend, will be in a private room. We'll have a screen, and we'll talk about the flight for the next day. That particular briefing is going to have a review of the route, the distances, the seat, the stars, any time differences. We'll be looking at the airport diagram, the wind forecast for the next day, so we know which runway should be in use, the departure, the arrivals, the permits, who you're going to talk to, weather, schedule, everything you need to know for the next day.
And that can be attended by everyone on the journey, or just the pilots, just up to you to decide. But what's great is to just learn about what's coming up.
Exactly. One thing that's important is insurance. I know some people in the US don't have insurance. Here, you're required to have at least a third-party liability of up to $10 or $11 million for the European part for light jets, TVMs, PC-12s, Honda jets, and so on. And then about 26 million US dollars for CJ3s, CJ4s, Phenom 300, and so on. But usually, it's fairly easy to get those days. Just contact your broker, and if you have problems, you can contact us, and
we can assist.
And we can help.
Trip cancellation insurance as well. This journey does sell out, and it is so obviously people sign up for it in advance. So it's always great to have trip cancellation insurance just to protect your investment. And so that is mostly medically based. So if you have issues, break a foot or anything like that, it doesn't cover anything for the airplane. So it's not mechanical issues or things associated with the airplane. But it does provide coverage for medical situations for you and immediate family members. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to quote it out for you. We can follow up email, and then you guys can write back. Q&As.
Excellent. We got about 8 minutes left, so it looks like we're on schedule. If you have any questions, feel free to hit the top of the top right of your screen to the little question mark.
So we have one here. What types of aircraft usually participate on the journey, and how adaptable are the routes for different aircraft? So we touched on this a little bit. Our trip itself is required to have jet fuel burning aircraft, range. I'll let you take more.
Yeah, usually about 1,000 miles is required for the journey. So most of the airplanes you'll see on those journeys are going to be Piper M600s, 700s, TBMs, PC-12s.
Vision jet.
Vision jets, Citations, Phenoms, Honda jets, and that's kind of the sweet spot for this type of journey. All owner pilots, single pilots. Some people decide to bring another pilot on board for section of the journeys also. But remember, once we cross the Atlantic, which the longest distance there is about 750 miles to 800 miles, depending on the airport we use. The rest of it can be split into shorter legs after that.
And that's the thing too, is it's group travel, but it's individualized. So if you can go nonstop, but someone else of the group needs to do a fuel stop, we would arrange the fuel stop for them, but you would go nonstop. So we don't require the entire group to make additional fuel stops to accommodate for one plane. That's also in terms of spacing. Do you want to touch a little bit on spacing?
Yes, people ask us often, hey, how do you manage 5 airplanes together? Is everyone the same altitude, same airspeed? No. We basically, depending on the length of that particular flight, we organize the takeoff times and the separation and the altitude to make sure we can accommodate everyone's request for altitude and so on and so on. So it's usually never a problem.
Another question we have is, how far in advance should someone begin planning? So this is, a big trip. We do assist, through the process of planning and whatnot, but it's just the earlier the better. First off, the journey does sell out, but also the fact that, getting the required insurance for your aircraft, getting, survival equipment and things like that together. We assist with all of it, but the earlier the better. So you're just not stressed and sort of feeling like everything's piled together at the last minute. It's really about spreading it apart.
One more thing on the planning. Being able to plan 48 days away from everything is not something you can do for the next day for most people. So on a journey like this, most of our clients will sign up a year and a half up to a year before this. And when we get to a year mark, it gets more difficult for people to organize things around it. So we highly recommend that's something you like to do, to plan ahead. We have full trips for 2026. We have already 3 airplanes for next year. So that means we only have three spots left. So it's a journey where people plan ahead.
Exactly. One of the things is there a limit to the number of guests? So it's your airplane, so you can choose how many guests you want to bring. There is no limit. The biggest thing I think is with the lodges, availability in the lodges. So because they are small with 10 rooms and whatnot, just that could be the only limiting factor. And I think that's it.
Often now we're actually flying during the journey. So as we touched during the presentation, we fly every 2-3 days. Most of the legs are 700, 800 miles. Sometimes it's 2 of those legs. So on those days, it's a lot. It's a longer flying day, but we don't fly at night. We don't take off at night. We don't fly in bad weather, like we mentioned. So most of the days are very manageable flying-wise.
And that's one of the things to touch on. If there's weather along our route or there's changes that need to happen, the benefit of us flying our own airplanes is that you're able to pivot as needed. So if there's bad weather, we'll either delay the departure, we might stay an extra night somewhere. We really take care of everything so that you don't have to worry about making all the changes that are required for that. But we are weather chickens. We're not here to prove anything. And so safety is our biggest concern. And so we will pivot an itinerary or a destination as needed to ensure safety for everyone.
Yep, exactly. Do we have one more?
Common concerns that people have before the trip. I'd say probably the length of the trip is maybe one of the biggest concerns. And that's just, I kind of say it's a little bit of like a mental game. I think someone once asked us, what have you done in the past 3 weeks that you couldn't have done, or, obviously it's double that, but what have you done in the past month that you feel like you couldn't have gone on a trip for? And so obviously there's different circumstances, but it's the buildup to the journey itself that seems daunting. But then once you're on the trip, it becomes such a natural flow. You get into a rhythm. And like you say, by the time it's done, it's like, well, what do I do now? What's next?
Yep, exactly. And then you got to realize also that all the airports we use have connections to direct flights to the US. So if something very urgent would have happened at home, you can always get on a commercial flight. We'll secure the plane in the hangar, and then we'll either send a ferry pilot to bring it back or bring you back a few days later, depending on what the emergency is or the urgency of your.
And maybe you can expand a little bit on if mechanical issues. I think that's maybe a question sometimes.
Yeah, so a lot of our clients ask once in a while, what happens if I have mechanical issue? So because we spend about 3 days at each location, if something happens in flight, we usually figure out what it is. We send the information to the different service centers or the manufacturer and so on and so on. And we've got 3 days to work it out. So usually within the same day, they dispatch someone ready to go the next day with the parts of what they need, and they get there the next day. So that means they have 2 more days to finish fixing the airplane and go. So when those things happen, often we don't see any delay. Sometimes we see a 1-day delay for that particular airplane. They come meet us at the next place, and the office handle everything on the hotels and flight planning and so on. But we haven't seen very much delay whenever we had a mechanical issue. And also, each manufacturer of airplane realized that they have a Honda Jet, a TBM, a Citation, and so on on a particular journey. And
a mix of planes.
They don't want to be the one stranded behind or saying that they had bad customer service. So usually they're right there, ready to help, and we have also a very good connection with the top of each manufacturers.
And we really do. I mean, it's a collaborative. If there's a mechanical issue, it's a collaborative situation where we all talk together and really find the best solution. We've had to, send people out with parts before and things like that. So we're really there to help you to quickly get back up and running again. But like you said, most of the time, the 3 days that we're in a destination allows enough time to be able to fix most problems. But yeah. All right.
So I think we're getting to the end of it. We got 2 minutes left. If any other questions, feel free to send them. We will be following up with an email to each of you, the participants. Just a quick thing, those are the airplanes signed up already for next year. We did hide the tail number for privacy, but you have a little snapshot of what kind of airplanes are signed up. Different altitude, different type of airspeed, but all jet fuel burning airplanes.
And that's that.
Yep. So thank you very much all for your time. We know it's hard on a mid-afternoon presentation, but we hope we got you interested and you learned a little something about the journey to Africa.
Exactly. Hopefully we got you excited. We'll be sending out a follow-up email, and from there you can always reply back with any questions or any things, or if you even want to discuss more about the journey itself, feel free to give us a call. We're available to answer anything.
Yep. And we can also set up a Zoom meeting if you want or anything like this. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We hope to see you soon.